Hello, how are you guys?
Not bad. How are you, man?
I'm great.
Hello.
Hey, Elijah, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. How are you? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Jamie, how are you?
10 out of 10, man.
I love that you're in your car. That's so
I
awesome.
need to go for a friggin' drive, you know?
Sick of being quarantined or what?
Yeah. I needed to take a tour around Ottawa.
Is that where you guys are? Are you in Ottawa as well,
Yeah.
Elijah?
Yeah. We both are in Ottawa. Unfortunately, quarantining separately, but we're making the best of it. So,
are you able to like collaborate still, like send each other songs and stuff?
Yeah, honestly, like Zoom has been like revolutionary for that. We get on calls pretty much every day and just kind of go back and forth about ideas, kind of send stuff over the web, which is initially how Jamie and I started. We were just like doing everything remotely, and we figured that this was kind of like a good way to get back to our roots.
I love that.
Officially and like voluntarily.
Yeah, I love that. So did you guys both grow up in Ottawa?
I grew up in Ottawa. Elijah grew up just about an hour outside of Ottawa in a 6,000 person town, yeah?
Yeah. Tiny little town.
Okay. Well, our podcast is all about your guys' journey in the music industry, and I want to hear both your guys' stories and how you guys met. If that,
yeah, absolutely, man. I'll go ahead here. So, I kind of started producing music when I was about 14. I got into like DJing, and I was doing like a lot of electronic stuff, and I kind of just fell in love with it. I found myself spending like all my time just producing music and just like mixing songs together, and like they were just absolute trash. Like I hope none of them ever see the light of day. But I found like a real passion for it, and I started producing music for a bunch of DJs.
oh wow,
I found like that was kind of like an interesting market for me. I was making enough money that it was like I was paying my bills and doing my thing. And then I met James when we were both at college. We met at Algonquin College in 2014 or 15 or something.
So
yeah, somewhere around there. I can't remember. I always get foggy on the year. Like it's just the worst 6 years of my life after that. So.
yeah. That was the peak, and then it was all downhill from there.
It was all downhill.
Yeah. So we connected at Algonquin College, which is in Ottawa, and I had heard Jamie's voice through like an iPhone, just some demo recording of a song called "Falling Down" that our guitarist actually now had recorded because they were playing some like live shows together, and he was like, "Man, you got to check this girl out." Recorded the song last night, and I freaked out. I was like, "This girl's voice is insane," and she had something like super super special about the way she sang, not just what she was saying, but more like how she was saying it. She had kind of a message and a tone and her own identity vocally, and it just really spoke to me. So I reached out, we got in the studio, and we just kind of clicked. It was like this friendship immediately, and it was just super super easy for us to create together. And we quite quickly found that we were exponentially increasing what each other were doing. We were both creating like really cool content apart, and it was interesting and whatever. And then we came together and we created something really special. And the response has been absolutely insane since then. Like we've had all these things that have sort of validated all this music that we make in a basement, and it's insane.
That's awesome. So the first instrument you learned was just like screwing around the keyboard and or a computer and stuff? Like, or did you pick up guitar, or how did that work?
My dad taught me guitar really young. So I love how everybody's in the sweatpants attire now. Like everybody's just here. Everybody's like, I'm in my business casual attire today.
Nice shirt on top, sweatpants on the bottom.
Just boxers. Like half the time I just sit in my boxers on these Zoom meetings. I'm like, whatever.
That's awesome.
But the first instrument I ever picked up was guitar. So my dad's a guitarist, and he sort of taught me super young, just to kind of like noodle around and scales and everything like that. And then I started taking piano lessons super young, and I was like, this is lame. I don't want to do this. Like I'm a sporty guy, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was an instant mistake, because then at the age of whatever it was, 20, I was like, damn, I need to learn how to play the piano again. So I spent basically like a year every day, like 8 hours a day playing. And then I got comfortable doing that again. But yeah, I play guitar. I play piano, and I sing a bit. But it's not, I'm a multi-instrumentalist in that context, but I'm not fluent in anything. Like it's a language for me. It's like it's a vehicle to the song. And I think that's my forte is sort of my ears.
Yeah. You said your dad plays guitar. Does he play professionally, or is it just a hobby he had and wanted to pass it on to you?
He used to play a lot. He toured all over. He's from Australia, and he toured all over Australia in the 80s, doing that. He was like professionally employed from I think 81 to 86 doing that, and then went to Europe and did a tour there, just with his band, and didn't really think too much of it. He was just like really enjoying his time, writing some songs. And I grew up with him sort of writing songs, and he had like this 12-track Roland, or actually I think it was a Boss recorder. It's like this OG, like the first digital mixer ever made. And you had to burn CDs. So he was recording his own kind of, I guess, like an album, never for sale or anything like that. But I learned a lot about recording through that, just watching him mic a drum kit and just like record his own vocals and seeing him stack stuff and then having to bounce it down because it's only 12 tracks big. And it was just like a really cool experience for me. So he's like a super passionate guy. So whatever he got into, I was just like, I was right there watching.
That's awesome. What about you, Jamie? How did you get into music originally?
Actually, ironically enough, I'm actually staring at Algonquin College right now. I'm sitting across from where we met.
Really? Your old stomping grounds.
I got into music. I grew up with a pretty musical family as well, not professionally. My dad actually just admitted to me like a few years ago that his dream was to be a conductor, and he never did it. But they're both lawyers, so different career paths.
Sounds like they're doing well.
No, I'm not complaining. I learned at in grades 8 exactly what I wanted to do. Like I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that it was music, and I had a really strong compass pointing me in that direction. And I just kind of kept doing it. Like I kind of weaseled my way into doing music. It wasn't necessarily that I was being fought against all the time, but it was definitely like, not everybody was like, you're going to do it. Don't give up. I was like, I'm going to do it and I'm not going to give up. Screw all of you. So I did. And as Elijah said, I met him, and it just kind of, I'd worked with other producers before, and it was just one of those things where like I wanted something more, and like music always felt right, and music always felt like the thing that I was meant to do. And I met Elijah, and it just kind of, it like all made sense. Like I think for both of us, it kind of like was like, oh, like this is what I was waiting for, kind of thing. And we've been making music ever since.
Wow. When did you learn that you were very good at singing? Like obviously kids tinker around and sing, try to like songs or whatever, but it takes something to be like, whoa, like she's really has some talent.
I mean, it's all auto-tune now, so I still can't really sing. I don't know. I in grade, I think, so my parents told me, again, just a few years ago, that when I was, in like daycare, I used to sing "O Canada," which I know is complete bullshit because I still don't know Canada. So I must have just like hummed it or something. But I used to like stand up in front of daycare and be like, oh, I don't know why I exposed myself like that. But I just like, I guess like in grade 7, I think I was like singing, I think "O Canada." I have to sing with "O Canada."
It's a great, honestly, it's the best national anthem. It's right, far better than ours.
It's a 10 out of 10.
It is. It's the best one I've heard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I like sang in the shower, and I got out of the shower. My dad was like, "I think you can sing, kiddo." And I was like, "Thanks, Dad." And then he brought me to like, he played piano at like casinos and stuff with his musical partner, Brian.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it was really cool. Brian Lynch. So we would go, and I went to the studio, and Beth and Brian, they like were there and like helped me record my first song, and they admitted after that they were so nervous because like childhood like family friends, and they were worried that I was going to be such crap that they were going to have to be like
pretend
great
like
job,
you're great.
but then they were like, oh my god, you're actually all right. So I made it work.
Awesome. Was that your first experience in a studio?
It was, yeah, and it was like a home studio. He worked for the government. Brian worked for the government. It's actually it's in Lanark, so near where Elijah's hometown is.
Okay.
And we would just drive out 45 minutes every Sunday. Me and my dad would go out and we record. And it was my first, I think that's why I'm so comfortable in the studio, because my first experience with music at all was being thrown into a studio setting and recording.
Okay. What about you, Elijah? What was the first... How are you introduced into music as far as the recording process goes? Just your dad's mixer? Was that the first time you learned?
Yeah, I would say that was like a pretty hands-free version of it. He was usually in control of everything there, but it was interesting, like sort of watching. But yeah, I want to say like the first time I really, really dove into it was when I was probably like 15-ish. Like I'd been playing around with some, like, I think it was like a DJ app or something like that, and I was mashing songs up together, and I was like, I want to do more tracks. I want to do something that's a little more interesting. And then I started like remixing songs in Ableton, and I think it was like Ableton 8 maybe at that point, so it was like early days,
early on.
And I just kind of fell in love with it. So I started doing everything synthetically. So I was producing, like, despite being able to play, I didn't correlate the two. I didn't bring real music into my music until sort of like later on. But I realized pretty quickly that it's just like, I think something that I've found out about myself is that it's not about like what I'm doing. It's about how I can maximize learning about that. It's like, if I'm going to play the guitar, I'm going to learn everything there is to know about playing the guitar and how to bring it.
Sure. My radio just decided to turn on. Continue.
All good.
Honestly, I don't even like what you're saying. Just shut
up. Just stop talking. Just stop. Yeah. So I just kind of, I realized that like, I wanted to learn about everything, and the same goes with the computers, and the same goes with music theory and everything else. I just kind of like, when I dive into something, I just get obsessive, and I very much want to learn the ins and outs of it.
It's a good characteristic to have.
Yeah. I mean, especially as a producer too, like it's one of those things that has benefited me a lot. And I'm really, really thankful. Like, it's not something I chose. It's just like, it chose me. Like it wasn't a thing that I ever really thought too much about. It's just that I get very enthusiastic about those things. So I want to say probably around 15 was sort of my first recording experience, when I was like messing around and chopping up other people's samples and like creating bootleg mixes and stuff like that.
Nice. Did you guys, before collaborating with each other or joining or starting what became Elijah x Jamie, Elijah Woods x Jamie Fine,
whatever you want, man. We're so easy. It's just like,
call us anything.
We chose those names because we were like, those are our names, and like, we don't know what else to fucking do.
Yeah. Well, I saw that you have like a TikTok where it's like ExJ.
Yeah. Whatever.
Which is cool. I like that. It's short and sweet. But I was gonna ask, were you guys ever individually in bands in high school or in middle school or anything?
I used to like the first time I ever performed was like grade 7 at a talent show. Natasha Bedingfield and staring at the bank page before you open, so hard.
I love that one. That was awesome.
But I couldn't reach the high notes, so I'd be like, open up the dirty way. Hey, the way you can have my read you. Just go down again, whatever. This
was
podcast
awesome.
is all about exposing how embarrassing I am.
I love that.
But that was the first time I performed. And then, as Elijah was saying before, our guitarist that plays for us now, I was in like a little band called Loose Change with him, and we would play like Moxie's patio parties, and do the rounds and play some bars. Like, that was fun. It was just like a good like escape, let loose, have fun, play music before it was anything like really serious.
Yeah, and you got to play in front of people, kind of get a vibe for how that is and stuff.
Right? Yeah.
How was that first that talent show performance? Was that when you're done, were you pretty like stoked, or like?
Yeah, I felt like Beyonce.
I just destroyed Natasha Bedingfield. You were like,
yeah.
Was that like the bug? Like, this is it. I'm doing it.
Yeah, I definitely mic dropped. It was great. Like, I was 12. Like, I mean, I was pitchy and hilarious, but like, it was fun. And like, I think it was the first time for me where I was like, oh, like, singing's dope. Like, it was so not confusing to me. I was just like, oh, this is amazing. And like, it felt really good. People were really supportive. I think grade 7's really where I started to like come out of my shell a little bit. I was kind of a loser. Like, I was pretty heavily bullied like pre-grade 8, my whole life. So like, oh, it's cool. It's great. But I just like, I wasn't really like a popular kid. It was whatever. So when I got on stage, people were like, who the hell does this girl think she is? But then I did it, and people were like, oh, and I think that music just really helped me come out of my shell. And that was the first experience I had with that.
I'm glad that you were able to, overcome that and just be like, hey, I'm doing this. I don't care that I'm not the most popular kid here and
Right,
whatever.
yeah.
But what about you, Elijah? What was the first time you ever performed in front of people?
I think I did some like ridiculous talent show where we sang like a cover of like a Missy Elliott song or something when I was like,
That's awesome. Missy
So
Elliott.
hot right now. So hot right now.
I think it was something ridiculous. Like something you should not have been singing in grade 6, but we decided it was a good idea and the teacher okayed it. So I was like, I mean, we're doing this. But then,
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and then
like grade 6 kids, like prepubescent grade 6 boys. Singing that song. Like, what's up?
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
it was. I think my actual first time performing was. I want to say DJing. Like I started DJing at clubs when I was maybe 18.
Oh wow!
And I started doing just kind of like the weird circuits in Ottawa and in Gatineau, which is just outside of that on the Quebec border. So like in the city closest to me, and then I did some gigs in Kingston, and then one in Toronto, and then I got invited to play some like smaller festivals.
Wow.
And that was cool. I found it kind of limiting. I think DJing, and like no offense to any DJs out there, but like it's fucking boring. Like it's like you straight up, you're pressing play on one track and then you're mixing in the next track, and it's like this is mindless. Like anybody can do that, and you're just twisting knobs that aren't turned on. It's like I'm not like we were on a TV show, but I'm not that good of an actor. Like I can't I can't do it. So early on, when I say early on, I did that for about 3 years.
Okay.
I almost like threw up the first time I was on stage because I was just like so anxious, and all the tech freaked me out because I'm just such a control freak, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got really used to it, and I realized that like performing isn't really, it's not like, and both of us have learned this about ourselves, is that the performance aspect of things is not stressful for us. We like very much enjoy being on stage, and we're very comfortable on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like early days, there's of course nerves and everything, but
sure,
we got over those pretty quick, and we've been performing now. Like we've been able to perform in front of massive crowds. Like we've done like 50,000 in Canada and everything, and like there's not many nerves. The only nerves you get are like if the tech is gonna fail.
Sure, yeah. Then
which has happened.
Which, dude,
oh,
okay,
really?
let me tell you a story, dude. Okay, we were doing Canada Day in Ottawa, which is like nation capital, 52,000 people.
Oh my
It was nice try. It was 80,000 people, and there were 120,000 people watching.
Yeah. So, well, no, well, cause like podcasts all around the country, like it's like, yeah, probably like 1 million viewerships or something like that. Like if the show is broadcast, right?
That's
so we get
insane.
on stage, and it's the first time ever. I always run playback for all of our stuff, or I had been up until that point. I was like, no, I'm a control freak. I know what's going on. Let me run playback. They were like, no, because it's government organized. You can't do it. Sorry for roasting Canada, but like it was insane. But they were like, we got to do it from our system. Sorry, buddy, like you can't do it. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I sent them all the stuff. We had a good sound check, whatever. We get on stage, they press play, and then all of a sudden everything cuts out. And Jamie and I are just on stage, like, and they're running tracks, and Jamie and I are just on stage, like, what's going on? And then the band comes in off beat, some like band for hire or whatever comes in off beat. We're in the middle of the song, like, how do we recover from this? Because there's no way to see the band because we're up front in this massive stage, just the two of us.
Yeah.
And the band's backstage
behind you,
like,
you guys. Yeah.
We got like somebody in our ears being like, what's going on, guys? And we're like, what are you doing? Like, what's happening? We had to stop, restart the song in front of 15,000 people. It was
not cute.
No, it wasn't cute. But like even that was more just like that's a tech thing. Like it's like
right.
the anxiety of going on stage wasn't there. James like lethal killer on stage. Like she's just like she's out there. She's out for blood.
Was it hard? Like
I think
that must have been pretty. I mean, I couldn't imagine. You're on television. Aside from the fact that they're broadcasting the whole thing, there's 80,000+ people in front of you. Like
it was a lot.
It's nice that like it's tech because it's like if I was like off key or Elijah like stumbled on the keys, like that's more embarrassing than like tech because tech like people know, and like I made sure to like not storm off stage, but like walk briskly enough that people knew that I wasn't happy.
Sure, yeah.
It was like acting. Like I was.
They're like, okay, maybe that really wasn't supposed to happen. You're like,
exactly. So I went backstage, dealt with it. We restarted, and it ended up being great. It was a great performance, but it's just one of those things where you're like, really, like we could have done without that in front of that many people.
Yeah. Like Canada is great for that too, because they're so forgiving. Like Canada is just like, oh, it's all right, sweetie, try again. In the States, they would have been like, get off.
States are brutal, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that.
We love it.
Okay, Buckles, you're gonna kill me. This is the best, literally the best interview we've had in the past 4 days. It's outrageous. My phone went from 63%. I'm running in here, getting a charger. Talk shit about me while I'm gone.
Oh yeah, no.
I'll be right back.
Take your time or speed up, whatever you want to do.
Okay, don't
I got all day.
Because I'm not there to defend myself. You know.
I'm all. Yeah, I've got plenty of time, so as long as you guys do, go for it.
All right, so I'm chilling. I just need to grab a charger. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Now we can talk shit.
Yeah. Are you at your home studio?
Yeah, this is my home studio, man. So I got everything set up here.
Wow.
All a mess, but yeah, it's just kind of like there's just my talk back. But actually, you know what I should have done is thrown this whole thing through auto-tune, but then I got a little vocal booth over here. But we cut everything here, so we recorded all of our stuff here actually, which is awesome. We don't ever rent studio because I just do it all myself, which is fire. That's
such a skill to have in this industry, not to have to pay somebody to come in and produce your record, or like if you're like, hey, I've already got the equipment, I know how to use it.
Yeah, we definitely we take it from A to Z. Like Jamie and I write all of our own stuff. I produce all of it, and then I mix it, and then I have a guy in New York who helps me with mastering. But I could master it. It's just like I've taken it from infancy to like 99%, and I'm like, I just can't listen to it one more time.
Right? Yeah, let somebody else kind of
and do all the live arrangements and everything like that. Like we do everything, and I kind of accredit to like it's a good and a bad thing because I'm kind of a psycho control freak with that sort of stuff. So it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, totally. And it probably doesn't hurt to have another pair of ears on it too, especially somebody that you trust. If they might hear something and say, "Oh, hey," like
he always makes it infinitely better. He does it's Rainy Merrill at Sterling Sound. He does like Taylor and Ed Sheeran and all those guys.
Wow.
Like, he's the dude, but he's such a sweet dude. So talented, like ears of the gods, just insane.
Sure. That's crazy. Yeah. And is that through Big Machine Records?
That is, yeah. So they like we've been working with Randy for about 4 years now, 4 or 5 years. But then Big Machine handles all the mastering now, which is great.
Well, you have one record out, 847, right? And then you have a new record that's coming out. Or I just saw that you dropped a new song. So
yeah. Well, I think we're kind of just playing the singles game right now, especially with this uncertainty. Like I think, obviously, we'd love to put out another body of work before the end of the year, but it's more like all right, what's going to happen globally right now? It's so tough to promote singles and stuff. Like, obviously this is a blessing because like we can do everything sort of on Zoom and have awesome people like you interviewing and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Like we're super thankful that we have such a great team around us and like supportive people and everything. So, no, we appreciate you taking the time to do this because it's such a weird, like everything's so oversaturated right now. The market is just flooded with content and just like online buzz and just everything, bro.
Yeah, I know.
I can't hear you guys. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you now. Can you hear us?
You hear me?
Yeah. Your Bluetooth
Speak to me.
Hello.
Oh, tough days. Tough days. There we go. Now I can hear you. Wow, I can't have it plugged in and hear you at the same time.
Oh, no way.
I don't know. We'll see how this goes.
Okay.
Not. Oh, there we go. Hang on. We're good. We good. Sure.
Awesome.
Now I can hear you guys.
Cool.
This is the anatomy of the modern conference call. It's just 50% of it is figuring out tech.
Yeah, like I can't hear you. Okay, hold on. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah, it's like 10 minutes of the setup. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming back. So I was going to talk to you guys. Okay, so you guys met in college, and is that when you formed Elijah Woods and ex Jamie Fine? Is that when this all started together?
Yeah, I think that like we started out as writers. We started out as collaborators writing for other people, and that was kind of the dream was being like these ghostwriters who had a whole bunch of credits for other people's big songs. And then we met our manager, and he was like, "You guys should be artists," and we were like, "Okay." We put no thought into it. We were just like, "Let's do it." And it felt like something that kind of was an exciting next step for us. Mm-hmm. And that's when it really started. But that was only about, I'm going to say a year and a half after meeting each other and working with each other back and forth that we met with our manager, JR. And that's when he made that suggestion.
Wow. And then is that what launched becoming on that show, The Launch, I guess? It's like you guys were on a television show together and stuff?
We were, yeah. So we did... We took part in a TV show called The Launch, but that was probably 2 years after we sort of started putting music out.
Okay.
We sort of had like a few million plays on Spotify, and we'd been featured on some like blogs and stuff, and got like a little bit of hype, some radio play in Canada.
Tell me about that. Was that right after your manager kind of said you guys should be doing something other than ghostwriting for people?
We just kind of we put out a song called Wouldn't Be Enough. 16, I think. 16 or 17, I can't remember now. 16.
I think it was January of
17. 17, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. So January 17, we put out a song called Wouldn't Be Enough, and it was like this like super special song to Jam and I. We'd recorded it as a demo for I think Jess Glynn was going to take it. She took it for an album, cut it, and then it didn't work for her project. And we were like, hey, we really love the song, super special. Let's put it out and see what happened. And all of a sudden we put it out, and like a month and a half later, I had 1 million plays on Spotify, and we were like, holy shit, like out of nowhere. We had no stuff. We had anything. We shot a music video for it. I remember the numbers are so small in comparison now, but I remember we woke up, we put the music video out at, let's call it 7 p.m. And then we woke up the next day and we had like 1,000 shares on the music video. And we were like, wow, what's going on? Like, it was insane. People were losing their mind. We had a girl from one of our close friends dance for Justin Bieber for a while and Britney Spears for a while. And she like started the music video and did this whole like dance routine. It was incredible. And it was just like, it kind of just organically started and people started following along, and we were like, oh wow, this is really happening. And then we put out, I think 4 more songs or 5 more songs over the next kind of year. And then that's when The Launch kind of came to us. They were A&Ring artists for the TV show. And they reached out and we were like, no way. There's absolutely no way we're being on a TV show. Like, that's not the look for us. We like formally said no 4 or 5 times, like written in paper. And we were like, there's no way.
Wow. What was that? Why you just weren't interested, or?
I mean, one, like, look at us together. It's hilarious. Like, it's just like, we're the weirdest, especially visually, group of people, but we always kind of put the music first. And that's one of the reasons why we like came together, is that we were creating really special music, or so we thought. And we wanted that to come first, and music television has that connotation where it's everything else and then the music.
Sure.
And they kind of, especially Canadian music television, I don't know if you ever watched it. It's just like super.
I haven't seen it before.
You don't need to. You don't need to.
Was it like a reality show? Like tell me a little bit about this show where you guys like living in some house with a bunch of people and like,
oh, thank God,
challenges and all this other stuff, or what?
It was actually like a really simple process. Like, we were away for a week. It was only like 2 days, 2 separate days of filming, maybe max 3 or 4 hours each day of filming. And basically the premise was just like a big writer would come in with a demo, and you had an audition round of 5 different people or groups auditioning. The top 2 would go on to the next round and get the opportunity to record this hit song. And then you perform it in front of a live audience. Judges would critique it, and the best version would get released. And for our episode, we ended up getting that song, and it was written by Ryan Tedder and Camila Cabello, and then we actually took it and co-wrote it with them, which was great. So it was kind of there was another guy, Zach, on it as well, who's extremely talented, but it was kind of the 5 of us who collaborated on this track Ain't Easy that ended up, obviously, so to speak, launching our career.
Yeah, and that's a massive song. I mean, you have X million plays on Spotify. I think like 15 million or something crazy like that. Like, so you got to that all came together just on that show. You got to meet Ryan Tedder, and you were working with Camila Cabello. She was just on. They were just like guest stars on the show. And Ryan
was our guest producer.
Okay.
And he was an original writer on the song. So I believe it was him and Camilla and Zach who originally cut the demo. And they came to the show with the original demo. It was like super poppy, like very like cut and dry sort of thing. I guess in hindsight, it didn't make Camilla's self-titled album. Well, I can't speak right now. But it was interesting because like it's just such a great song, and we heard it and we were like, "Holy shit, that chorus smacks!" And Jamie and I went back to the hotel room that night, rewrote some of the verses, kind of changed up some of the production so it felt a little more relevant, a little more urban leaning. Came in the next day, showed them, and that was all filmed and everything. And then the song just kind of took a new life, and we ended up getting some publishing on the song too, which is awesome. So now we share credit with those massive writers, and we're like super super thankful because it ultimately launched us to where we are now.
That's awesome. So from that song, what was the next thing that happened? Like, you guys were obviously you already had a song that was doing something. I mean, 1 million plays. You had this video that does well, and then you get approached by this TV show, and then you said that kind of like what step was that took you to the next level? Like, what came with the success of that song?
I think that like the first thing that came was this overwhelming sense of like, okay, like this got a ball rolling that we can't stop. We don't want to stop. And we have to like brainstorm and how to keep it rolling in like a positive direction. That was a lot of metaphor for my brain, but it was like just like this like crazy overwhelming experience. I actually remember so that the night that the episode got released, they wanted to film because they were doing this like episode 7 of like all the winners of each episode and how they were reacting. So we invited all of our family and our friends and like our loved ones, and we went to Toronto and we sat in the hotel room and we watched it live. And we watched our social media as the show was going on, and it was just the most we couldn't keep up. Like it was the first time we couldn't keep up with social media, and Elijah and I loved like that interaction with people one-on-one, people saying, "I love your latest release," yada, yada, yada. This was like, how are we going to do this? And I remember like we had a moment where all of our family was like around, and we, somebody had got, I think it was Elijah's mom brought champagne, and we were like drinking, having a toast. And like everybody was just talking, and me and Eli just like had a moment of like looking at each other, and we just broke down because we were like, what just happened? And that didn't stop for, I'm going to say, a few weeks. But then like the pressure of like, okay, like how do we follow this up? Like all eyes are on us. This is really exciting. How do we follow this up, and what are we going to do? Like what's next kind of thing? Because it was so exciting. We were like, inevitably we're asking the question, what's next? And that puts a lot of pressure. Like because Ain't Easy was even still to date our technically our biggest song and our biggest success story. It always begs the question, how are we going to follow this up with something bigger? And the more that we found ourselves asking that question, the more I speak for myself, I guess. Like I think we've had that conversation before, Elijah and I. But I think the more we were asking that question for ourselves, the more we were kind of slipping away from what actually truly made us happy in terms of music, in terms of creating. And we slowly had to like re-fall in love with making music and re-fall in love with doing that together. And that process that we started out with kind of got lost in the jumble of how crazy this career can be and this lifestyle can be.
Yeah, this whole like policy of chasing a hit, we kind of realized that we were like looking at music as if it was a substantial thing, rather than being like this weird art form that you create from nothing. Like before all this, we were looking at music as like, hey, this is an expression of like how I feel, or a piece of time, or whatever it was. And then we were like, all right, damn, how do we write a hit? Because we saw how well that did. We saw how many doors it opened up for us. We saw the financial freedom it gave us. We saw everything. Our lives changed because of that song. And we were trying to follow that up, if not supersede it. And it was completely backwards. So I want to say it's only been within the last like 8 months that we've really kind of recentered and been like, what the fuck are we doing? And we came with this this song, we came up with the song "Want You Back," which is our latest release, and it just felt like good again. Like not that the music that we've been releasing over the past couple of years hasn't. We've really connected with a lot of it, but it was coming from a place of kind of like we were like in between chasing a hit and then being like, no, we got to go left to center. We got to figure out something else is going on, because we were really thrown into this situation that naturally, I don't know that we would have fallen into this like pop radio lane
without that success of that song.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Was that difficult because you were given Ain't Easy, right? You said that Ryan Tedder and Camila Cabello had like worked on it and that with the other guy, and like this track was already done. And then you have this song, but now was it hard to mix that in with what you had already written? Like for example, the record 847, like that song is on it, but obviously you have other tracks. Were those tracks that you already had completed, or did you, once that song, catapulted you, did you say, okay, now let's write around that song? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that because what we forget is that in between shooting the launch and it coming out, there were 4 months. So in those 4 months, we had written a lot of the songs that ended up being on our EP 847. A lot of those songs were written in that time. There's a handful of them that weren't, but there's a handful of them that were. So for us, like we have a huge catalog of music. And as we keep kind of growing and writing new songs, there's that age-old saying of like, for artists, we always think the last song that we wrote is our best.
Sure.
And that kept happening, right? So we were writing all this music, and we were like, this is going to make us $5 billion. And then we listened 4 months later and be like, thank fucking God we did not put that out. But it's one of those things with that 847 EP where we looked at half the songs and we were like, yo, we just wrote this and we really think that, it's a good representation of who we were. And other stuff we'd written pre-launch, even coming out, and those songs felt authentic to us as well. And that we wanted to find a happy medium of pre and post, balancing who we were as artists and people.
Mm-hmm. And with 847, was that put out on Big Machine also?
Yeah. So that was our first body of work on Big Machine. So we put out a song called "Better Off," which was like the lead single of that EP, excluding "Ain't Easy," which was kind of, I think it was like almost a year before the EP. So it was "Ain't Easy," and then we put out "Better Off" in the fall. So "Ain't Easy" was February. "Better Off" came out in the fall of that year. It did really well. It went gold in Canada. I think it's like close to platinum now in Canada.
Wow. Yeah, the other one was double platinum, right? And then still gold record. I mean,
yeah. So Better Off went gold, and then we released the EP in March, I believe. And then the lead single at the EP release went gold as well. A song called "You," which is incredible. But it's I don't know. Like I think like the accolades are interesting for us because like we try not to take it too seriously. I think there was a period of time where we just kind of like lost ourselves in terms of like, all right, we got to write a song that feels like something rather than does something. And that was kind of a period of time where we were lucky that the music, like retrospectively or retroactively, we were actually really like, but in that mindset, we were very much like, let's write a hit, which is completely backwards.
But it sounds like you were able to accomplish that. I mean, you had a song that was that was written, that you guys didn't write, and it became this massive hit, but then you put out the record and 2 of your songs become gold anyway. I mean, so there must have been some validity, and where there was a bit of validation there. I would assume that, hey, at least, we know that what we're doing is really good and people care about it also.
It felt amazing. It felt amazing that people were following what we were doing and attaching to, we said it kind of in the beginning, just to our team and to ourselves. And then we started in the last year being a little bit more open about the fact that, we never would have organically written a song that like Ain't Easy. And it's such an incredible song and it's a banger and we love it.
Right.
But we never artistically would have gone there. So to have the validation of having the music that we do gravitate towards and we do organically write be consumed by the people so positively, that was an incredible feeling. It's what every artist wants, right? Like we're living in a world of needing validation. Like I don't know if you watched that Taylor Swift documentary.
Oh, I did. I love Taylor Swift. Like honestly, one of my favorite artists ever.
nobody, her and Beyonce, nobody will outwork those girls ever. No,
never.
Man, woman, no nothing will outwork those girls. And you look at a lot of the stuff she was saying, and that's it. We live in an industry where we need constant validation to know that we're doing a good job. And if we don't get it, then you can't tell us that we're doing a good job without the clapping, as she says. If people aren't clapping, then what the hell are you doing wrong? And we kind of asked for that, but we got a few claps after Ain't Easy, and that helped us. It helped feed us to keep going.
Sure. That's like, well, you're on Big Machine is the same label that she was on forever. Like, was that a pretty cool, like, how did you guys get hooked up with them? Like, how did that all happen?
So Scott Borchetta was the I think his title was a producer of the TV show. So he was a mentor on the TV show as well. So it was his label sort of putting it all on.
Okay.
I don't think we naturally ever would have signed with a country label. But it was at the time, and like it still is, a great fit. They're a super great team, very close knit, like feels family run, the label, and they're all very, very personal. I can reach out to any of them on any given day and they'll get right back to us, which is amazing. But yeah, it's definitely, it's so strange because we do not write country music and we've never even liked country music, and now we're signed to a country music label.
Country label. Yeah. Well, they have other artists on there, like a couple other rock artists or different genred artists on there.
Yeah, I think they're branching out too, which is cool. James, are you still there? You're frozen. She's gone. I was just noticing. I was like, she's pretty stoic down there.
Yeah, it's hard to tell sometimes with these things because if you're sitting still,
just very like
you look like you're frozen.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's anything else you want to ask me, man, I know all her answers anyway.
Right on. So you guys signed a Big Machine, and that was all done through the
TV show. Yeah,
through the TV show.
We were really fortunate enough to kind of like. We didn't get one of those TV show deals because we were like the reason we said no is we're not getting roped into some whack 360 deal and signing for all of our rights, especially because we write all of our own music. So we ended up kind of negotiating a fair bit and getting a deal that sort of sat right for us, and that was ultimately like what sold us on the whole platform.
That's awesome. And then you guys were able to. You put out that EP and you're able to tour and get people excited about it and stuff. And that was because of the label and
I mean, like the support's been really great from them. We're really fortunate. We have really great relationships with radio in Canada. And that's been like a really good starting platform. We've always sort of said that we feel as though our sound is not, there's sort of like a Canadian bubble of pop music that just like will always live in Canada, and we've never wanted to just be there. But it's such an important market for us because it's sort of where we're from and where we're starting everything, that we're really trying to leverage it to kind of take us to the rest of the world now. And that was definitely the plan over the next 6 months, but we'll see at the time.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. We've interviewed a handful of Canadian artists, and no pressure. They're all awesome. I mean, every person we've ever interviewed from Canada has been so rad.
Yeah. I mean, we do okay. We're all just way too nice.
No, you are. And it's awesome though. I love that. So you put out, that first EP, and now you said you're playing the singles game with at least with the latest single. What's next for you guys? You just put that one out not too long ago, so I'm sure
we did. Yeah, so it was in March, beginning of March. So we did Want You Back at the beginning of March, and we're just kind of supporting that. We did a music video for it. Luckily, like 3 days before this whole lockdown situation, so that just came out a couple weeks ago, and just supporting as much as we can. Doing some radio promo for it, as like virtually as all this is. Yeah, we have an acoustic version actually coming out on May 14th, whatever the Friday is there, May 14th, I think, 15th.
Do you enjoy doing the acoustic stuff, like putting out those versions?
I mean, it's cool. Like, it depends on the song. I think like there's some songs that shouldn't be acoustic and like, cause they're like fully produced, but we've kind of come to a place where we want to write music that works around a campfire. Like we want to write music that just like feels good as a guitar or as a piano. And I think that's kind of like the origins of a good song. Like there's obviously exceptions to that rule.
Sure.
But I think in general, that's kind of like where my mentality is at now. I started doing Want You Back. Actually, I think on our last New York visit, we went to New York in maybe January, and we did it in like SoundCloud and Spotify and Apple, just like on the guitar. And we were just like jamming out. And we were like, this is actually kind of fire. Like we should put this down.
Yeah.
So we just did it, and like I just got all the guitars here. I did it like 2 weeks ago, and then James did her vocals on that shitty mic that she has at home, and then I just kind of processed it, and like it works. Like it's like it's good, man. So
that's great. That's awesome. Yeah, they always have. You know, you hear people say that a song's great if you could play it acoustic and it still has that same vibe. Yeah. But then obviously, like you said, there are exceptions to the rule. Some songs it just does not work. But that's awesome that you're able to do that especially with this new single that you just put out.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a pretty produced song. Like we wrote it as if it was supposed to be played in a stadium. Like that was like the goal. It's like very synthetic and very like over the top, like arena confetti. Like that's the vibe. And then strip it back and play it on the guitar, and it actually like it's actually pretty cool. So we did that, and we got we actually flipped a Stevie Wonder song right now, and we're in the process of trying to get people to recut the part so we can actually put it out.
Oh wow.
Sample clearance on Stevie Wonder is just obscene amounts of money.
I can imagine. Yeah.
It's not even human. Like apparently, so we hit up his lawyers, and apparently he's the hardest person to clear a sample from in the world.
Really?
Ever, like more than Rolling Stones, more than the Beatles. Like, well, apparently those are the three. But
I would think the Beatles would be a pretty difficult one, but I guess they must have let the reins up a little bit, considering like movies like Yesterday and like stuff that's coming out. But
yeah. I mean, like there are people covering stuff, but like you never hear a Stevie sample anywhere. So we actually flipped "I Wish" by Stevie Wonder.
Wow,
it's dude, it's so sick. Like I'm really hopeful that it can come out soon. So we're working on that right now. Hopeful for like a summer TikTok thing, where we're hoping to kind of like, it's just like a really feel good vibe, very disco-y, very cool. And then we have we recorded a cover actually of "If the World Was Ending" by Julia Michaels and JP Saxe.
Rad.
Incredible song, super relevant right now, kind of got a weird second life out of this whole quarantine situation.
Yeah, because that just returned as like a hit again, right?
Yeah.
I've been noticing that.
Song. It's absolutely insane. So James sings it, and I cut some piano here to it, and it's just like, it's an incredible tune. So that'll be coming out in the next month or so.
Cool.
We got tons of stuff, man. Like we write all of our own stuff, so we just been like doing it at home, and like we record it all here. Unfortunately, James can't come here and record. But it is what it is. We're making the best of it.
Yeah, totally. You're talking about TikTok. Are you guys big on TikTok? Like, do you do it often, or?
I don't know what big on TikTok means. So like we did a cover. The reason we recorded that "If the World Was Ending" cover is because we recorded it, or we just did like a little video on TikTok, like I think our second video ever, maybe a couple of months ago, and it blew up, went viral. We got like 150K followers overnight. Like it was just like stupid, bro. Like we went from, I think we had 1,000 followers or something like that, and then we went to 150K. Like just that, like
just from that one song.
One cover, one everything. And so people just went nuts. They were like, record this song. So naturally we took a month, and then we recorded the song. And like, I mean, we do it. Like, I don't know. It's such a strange landscape for me, just because it's like 16-year-old dudes doing all like this weird. Like,
we have a 12-year-old who's way into TikTok.
Of course, that's the age.
He's always on it, just like scrolling through that. And then I was looking at your guys' Instagram. I don't personally have TikTok, so but I could see now, like I went on your Instagram and there was a video that was shared from TikTok. I think it's you, and you like pan over and there's like a lamb's like next to you, like a little stuffed animal.
So we did it's called the In My Bed challenge, and it's basically there's a lyric in Want You Back says got her in my bed but I just want you, and it's people just panning over to whatever's in their bed, and some of them are like a little risky, like some of them are like, oh, you actually shouldn't post that on social media, but some of them are funny. People have posted like bowls of ice cream or like chips scattered all over their bed and shit. Like it's pretty funny.
That's awesome. You guys just came up with that challenge yourselves, and
I think my
life to it.
My manager came up with it, and he had some like pretty risky ideas about what we should post. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, I don't think like we're going to put a doll in my bed, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was pretty good. I thought that was funny. And that's cool that you guys are obviously blew up just overnight. I mean, that's really amazing.
Yeah. Pretty wild. I mean, like TikTok's the Wild West though. Like nobody has any idea what TikTok is doing. Like everybody's just trying to follow the trends and everybody's trying to hop on it. And we were very, very fortunate because it was right around Valentine's Day. They were putting this big push, and TikTok was putting this big push into love song covers, and we happened to get on like the main page #1, and we were like,
wow,
for like 3 days, and we were like, yes, got the shot on us.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
It's weird to see how it changes, how it's changing music though. Like I think it's a little scary for me as like a creator too, because everybody, and like I guess it's just the nature of the music industry in general. It's constantly evolving, constantly being shaped, but it's really strange because it's like manipulating attention spans even shorter. Like 7 seconds. If you can't dance to it on TikTok, it doesn't matter. Everybody is just looking for that TikTok smash because there's dudes like Arizona Zervis who just signed a $10 million deal off of like a TikTok song. It's like,
yep. And you have like, I mean, Lil Nas X and Blanco Brown, all these guys that just come out of this TikTok world.
Absolutely insane, man. But like, I mean, you just got to kind of you got to keep creating content that matters to you. And eventually maybe something like that'll happen, but it's like shot in the dark. Like,
sure. But then you also,
odds.
Yeah. But I mean, the one thing that you guys and other artists have going for them, aside from these random TikTok smashes, is like, I don't know, like look at Lil Nas X. He had 2 songs that were like massive, like one, obviously the one massive on TikTok. Then he had another kind of hit. He put out an EP, and like, now what is he doing?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah,
like I think his wave crashed, and he's kind of like either got to do something now or he's going to become irrelevant here soon.
Yeah. He's going to be the Old Town Road guy. But like, and that's, it's kind of an interesting thing too. Cause like Jim and I talk about that a lot, is like, is it better to have a song that is so colossally huge that you can never follow it up? Like, and I'll give you an example of somebody that like, I don't think they're a very stable band, but like somebody that I think this of is, the 1975 and, Somebody Else. So like that song is just like, and they've obviously had great success and
sure,
they're incredibly talented dudes, but like that song is just like, it is light years above their catalog. The same thing with Somebody That I Used to Know. It's OJ had a following. He was doing 1,000-person venues before that song, and he told us like, I'm not fucking putting out that song. There's no way I'm putting out that song. It's too good.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to ruin my career because now I'm going to be expected to only put out songs like this. And my audience who only watches this isn't going to pay attention to all the bottom stuff. They're not going to pay attention to my actual art.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never thought about it that way. Like now you've wrote like the top mountain of the like your songwriting capability is here, and like, are you going to be able to jump over it?
Yeah, there's never a higher ceiling. And like Taylor Swift's obviously one of those people who is, let's call the threshold of Somebody That I Used to Know 100%. That's 100% song. They crossed off all the boxes. They did whatever. Taylor Swift has been able to write songs at 98% for the last 10 years. And they're incredible. And you would never know, but that 2% is so smart. The little margin that she leaves there is perfect because she can always outdo herself. She can always be right there. But if you hit 100%, it's just,
you gotta hang up the cleats at that point.
You gotta retire. You're out of it. So my goal is to write subpar songs.
Okay, your goal is to not quite get to 100%.
Absolutely, man.
Well, Elijah, I appreciate your time, man. I don't know if Jamie, do you want to try to give her another?
She said my phone's fucked. I'm sorry. I gotta let you finish up. I'm just confused. It says it's at 20% and then it dies, and then it says it's at 2 and then it dies. It just doesn't want to work. So she's very sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
I mean, we had a chat. We
did. Yeah. No. And I wanted, because the last question I always ask is if you have any advice for aspiring artists. So I was going to wait and see if she could come off for a second, but if she's, no worries. I want to know what your advice would be.
I think it's funny being in a position of like, hey, let me give you advice. Cause like, I don't think anybody knows what they're doing. I think anybody who's like sort of been through stuff is just like, they're regurgitating other people's information. And I'm the first person to do that. It's like, I've gotten tons of great advice in my life. I think my favorite piece of advice that I've ever gotten is create something so valuable that you don't have to sell it. It's that people want to share it themselves rather. I think if you can create something so intrinsically valuable to you that other people see it, that's the most important thing, because otherwise you're just shoving stuff down people's throat and you're just a marketing dude. Like if you're creating art, if you're creating something special, something unique, people will notice it. If you believe in it, other people are going to follow. Because like ultimately, like that's what we are as creatives, right? We're leaders in an uncharted territory. It's like how far left can we go? How different can we go? And like, of course, like James and I know what a song like Want You Back is. It's like, it's a super special song to us. We know that it's going to do well on radio, and we know that we're going to be able to pay our bills. It's like, it may not be the most creative thing in the world, but like we're in the place of creating content that feels like something. And if that resonates with us, it'll resonate with other people. So create something extremely valuable.